Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, she's Donald Trump's Freddy Krueger. She appears in his nightmares, and he tries to get rid of her like a bad penny, but to no effect. She not only took $500 million off him in a civil fraud case in New York, she's also leading the charge in dozens of lawsuits filed by the attorneys general around the country against the Trump administration, most depraved and unconstitutional policies. And even though Donald Trump just tried to give her a little bit of a brushback pitch last week, a little, high and under the little chin music, high and tight under the chin there with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, maybe you committed mortgage fraud. Maybe there were some typos in your paperwork. There weren't. She bought a house in Virginia with her father, and it was listed as her spouse. It should have been listed as her father. She has a multifamily in New York that has just the right amount of units for the amount of mortgage that she took out. No problems. But Donald Trump's like, let's try to undermine Letitia James. We did it so well with Fani Willis in Georgia. She's back and with a vengeance. And she and 18 other attorneys general have filed in Massachusetts a new federal lawsuit about Donald Trump's last-minute efforts to either cut off tens of billions of dollars of funding that would go to things like special needs children, children with disabilities, children who need to learn how to speak English in order to have an education, and things like that. I didn't think those were red and blue. I thought those were red, white, and blue. So she had to file a lawsuit claiming that Donald Trump's attack on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, which effectively kind of inclusion and tolerance, that's at the very fabric of our public school system. And she shouldn't be weaponizing the Civil Rights Act to go after schools under threat of cutting their funding. That's the premise of the lawsuit. It's been filed. It's being presided over by a senior judge, get this, who was appointed by Reagan. Yes, they're still around up in Massachusetts. We cover it all on the After Dark edition of Legal AF, the podcast. And here's a clip.
Popok, just before we go, I want to talk about this Letitia James briefly, because we were on New York anyway.
Yeah, you're talking about the 19 attorney generals led by her? Okay.
Yeah.
So 19 states have filed, led by Letitia James, who basically brushed off any accusations that she was corrupt, which Donald Trump made in a political retribution, saying she lied on mortgage forms. She didn't. She lied on a property she bought with her father in Virginia. She didn't. And if they thought it was going to back her off, she is Freddy Krueger for Donald Trump. She lives in his nightmares. She occupies a considerable amount of real estate inside of whatever's left of Donald Trump's cranium. I really believe that. And so if they thought that was going to back her off, quite the opposite. She's now filed, along with 18 other states, in Massachusetts. It's been assigned to a senior judge who's he's still around, a Reagan appointee, senior judge there. And it's all about their attempt to cut off tens of billions of dollars of school aid for special needs children, for children to learn English in schools, for the disadvantaged and fragile population, primarily in school systems. When did that become a red versus blue thing, helping special needs children? And what they said is, in their new filing and seeking yet another injunction, which I'm sure is coming, is that this last minute Department of Education sending them a notice that if they don't cut diversity, equity, and inclusion out of their programming and they don't sign on the dotted line, they basically weaponize Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And what their response in this lawsuit, I read through it on a new hot take on Legal AF, is diversity and equity and inclusion is the lifeblood of the public school system. It's in the fabric of the very programs you're trying to cut. You can't tell us in 3 days we have to cut the heart out of our programs in order to get money. That violates the Administrative Procedures Act in about 5 different ways, including being arbitrary and capricious. It violates all the things about separation of powers. You wouldn't know it, by the way, this Congress led by the Republicans is a doormat and a wet noodle, but it is Congress that's supposed to have spending power, appropriation power, and all of that. Not you. You're supposed to, executive branch, you're supposed to faithfully execute. You're not supposed to legislate. You're not supposed to kill funding. And so they have all these constitutional claims there as well. He hasn't set a hearing yet. The judge up in Massachusetts. And just the last comment there, there's a good reason we've been filing these kind of cases in Massachusetts and in the New England states, is because we're having tremendous success there through the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and then off to the United States Supreme Court. It's a perfect way to set up the case. You could do it in New York, but it's just a better place to be. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and those kind of things. California, and Maryland and DC. That's why we're seeing that's the strike zone that the Democrats, the moderates, the ACLUs, the attorneys general are hitting over and over and over again because it's working. They're batting 900, Ben. 90% success rate against this administration in all their cases. And whereas 2 weeks ago, I was like, well, Trump's strategy of doing everything by emergency application to the Supreme Court seems to be working. Forget that. After 2 back-to-back losses at the United States Supreme Court, we're winning there in large numbers, as well as I think Donald Trump is losing the votes he needs as the United States Supreme Court, who may finally have found something that they can do to help our constitutional republic, which is to stand up to a lawless president.
The amount of losing is really unprecedented for a federal government. You don't see loss after loss after loss like this. And they want to complain that these are activist judges. A lot of these judges, though, are actually, as we talked about earlier, Trump appointed judges, George W. Bush appointed judges, even Reagan appointed judges. Yes, you have your Obama and Biden and Clinton judges, but it's a mixture of all of them. And Trump's poll numbers, unprecedented low. Trump losing in courts, unprecedentedly high, the amount of losses that are mounting up. And, as we are here, April 26th, we're heading into May. We're still less than 100 days in. This has been the worst presidency officially in the history of the United States of America.
Welcome back. Here you go. You can almost do it with me. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you can see the video version of our recording of the Legal AF podcast. Wednesdays, I do it with Karen Freeman Agnifilo. Saturdays with my co-founder, Ben Meiselas. And then hot takes like this about every hour at the intersection of law and politics. You can also pick us up, and I recommend you pick us up on audio. Any audio podcast platform, just plug in Legal AF. And then come over to our Legal AF YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN, free subscribe there. That helps us build that pro-democracy channel. I'm curating it in collaboration with the brothers on the Midas Touch Network. And together, we are, of course, pro-democracy, creating this fellowship, this unity where we can talk truth to each other on Legal AF, the podcast. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you for supporting us all in all ways that you do. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.